Allen perspective.
What's going on, guys? Yeah, my name's Drew Bowman, and I have been in the hemp game since 2018. Former English high school educator, and then during COVID, just kind of hopped out of that and put myself fully into hemp and cannabis and the mission. And it's been a wild ride, but a great one.
So first question out the gate was, did your high school students know you smoke weed?
Yes.
They call you out for it?
They loved it. I taught mostly seniors. My last name is Bowman, so Bowman, and they called me Mr. Groman. So that's where my original tagline came from. Everything like that, I was kind of operating under that name. It's since changed and kind of faded away because I've gotten away from the education aspect of it. But yeah, they loved it, and it was really something that I was concerned would be, put off by the school system. But I was in Forsyth County, so it really wasn't that big of a deal. Where I live, Stokes County, it definitely was a little bit more hesitation when I went to interviews there and stuff like that. But it is what it is. Yeah. So it was really supported. Even my principal at the school at the time, she allowed me to be me and handle my business outside of school and post on social media and all that.
Test all the time.
Never got hit with a drug test. So
nice.
Shout out to Forsyth County Schools.
Yeah,
but can't get your bus license or get drug tested constantly. Yeah. So
my wife were just talking about that yesterday, actually.
Yeah, the kids liked it. They thought it was cool. But you got to think too. When I first did that, it was all CBD. Yeah. So the mission was 1,000.
But not to the community.
Yeah, they looked at it as
we were already there in their
exactly.
eyes.
But as far as the mission goes and like what I got into it for, and what I was preaching was the health aspect, because that's one thing that we knew it could do.
Yeah.
Some of the benefits that could come from it. But as that transitioned over to Delta-8 THC and some of the other minor cannabinoids and now to THCA, that mission has stayed the same, but we've also got the people who are just, out here trying to relax and enjoy themselves as well.
So that's what we have in common is... we both looked at it from the health aspect first. What got you there?
I think for me it was just research. So I've got the education background. My focus when I got into it was learning as much as I could, as fast as I could, and starting to get a grow going. So got the grow going, started learning everything I could, started learning how much it could do, and I just have always looked around and seen all these people on pharmaceuticals. I've always denied them and not jumped on that train because I know what it's about.
Yeah.
I know that
so
when
it
you get
wasn't
prescribed
a personal, medicinal, or mental calling.
Yeah, not necessarily, which, like I told you before the interview started, I've got OCD, some other stuff, nothing extreme like bipolar or anything like that, but I know cannabis has always helped me.
Yeah.
It's helped me to, like I say, relax in the evenings, and now that I have CBD as an aspect of things, it helps me during the daytime, whereas I was telling you I don't necessarily smoke all day long.
Sure.
So I can use different cannabinoids for different things, and once I realized that was an opportunity for everyone out here, people with pain, Parkinson's, all these different disorders and diseases, had a natural remedy that could potentially really help them. And we've always known it's out there and different, we've got various different plants of various different things that help that have been covered up by, I think, the pharmaceutical companies. So.
Sure. We were talking before we started the cameras that you're involved with the manufacturing process, distribution process. Tell us a little bit about that.
So during COVID, we saw an opportunity, and it was a current candy factory, pretty much, edible manufacturer without the THC, kind of struggling. Family friend, so we hopped in and got a part of that and helped to basically save what they had going on as well as thrive ourselves by being in that direct line of the manufacturing. That and having your own grow definitely helps because you don't have to outsource. So I took that and then started going to trade shows, pop-ups, stores, and built a really good distribution line. For me, focusing on, what your customer, whether it be a wholesale customer, retail client, whoever it is, what do they want? What do they need? Rather than just a dollar sign. The health aspect of it, the different blends that you're doing, lower MOQs, better pricing. Not just, again, looking at the dollar signs, but they need someone they can rely on, someone that's going to be consistent, someone that's trustworthy and loyal. I think that's something that we lack a lot. And not just our industry, it's every industry. But if you have those things in mind when you're going to your clients, then I think you're going to see success.
Yeah.
My focus is the businesses that are busting their asses every day trying to make it and survive and provide a high quality product to their clients.
How many locations do you distribute to?
That's a tough question. I would say 150, but you got to think too, I've got distributors distributing. So, I go to the main line source, cut down the drive and delivery for me, and try to focus on the distributor so that they can get that high quality product out there as well. And not even just with hemp groups, right? Like these tobacco stores and all these other places that are getting involved in it. I want them to have access to, and that's where they're buying from.
Yeah.
So, because I want the person who's going in and buying their pack of cigarettes and then they see Delta, whatever, they see hemp.
Product.
Yeah, still get a clean product, high quality product, versus some of the stuff I've seen in there is, true. I don't even know the word for it. Horrible.
Yeah, and bad effects.
Yeah, bad effects. What's in it? Is it heavy metals? All these different things to consider when you're looking and shopping. That's why it's great to have people like you running these retail locations that are trying to hold the standard.
On the flower sales as well. I mean,
there's
some
absolutely
nasty stuff out there too.
Absolutely.
We had a guy come in our store. I won't disclose the location just because it would give away where they bought the flower from, but across the street, they bought some flower and they got sick, like really sick. And else
Mold,
I shouldn't
no
have,
joke. Yeah. Well, and then you look at, even the issues of people who buy on the street, not even from the tobacco stores, but I've had people who have come to me and say that they went to the doctor and have tested for cocaine, and they don't do cocaine. And I'm like, well, how does that work, right?
Yeah.
Because drug dealers, whatever,
Going
even though it
across
might
the same
be
scale,
yeah,
or whatever,
exactly.
even if it's not intentional, it's
exactly, and
still
that same things happen with fentanyl. And I thought when the fentanyl lace stuff came out that was bullshit.
Bogus, yeah.
It was just them trying to scare tactic. But as we've went through it, the more it's coming, you're hearing about it, and it's not necessarily intentional. It's just kind of happening because who's the same people that's moving that?
Drop it.
Yeah,
This is again, this is about who's. I don't touch fentanyl before I touch the flower.
Exactly, exactly.
Nor do our
and that's
sources.
something that your customers can know.
Yeah, exactly.
Because you're going through those testing methods because it's specific to cannabis. Farm direct or whatever.
So maybe look at some of the stuff that we've got going on, because for what we do. We are involved in a manufacturing process. I showed you our operation, very, very small and limited. We're working on growing that aspect of the business, which is a separate business.
Absolutely.
But this is what we feel like we're good at, is the retail location side, and by just creating a community. And this is what I hope that the folks in Raleigh don't take from us.
Yeah.
So pull them up some of those. Like just from this weekend, we had an open mic night. Like, you should be able to have an open mic night.
Yeah, for sure.
At a dispensary.
Or yoga or whatever. It doesn't need to be locked down.
And this is something you can't even do in legal markets, right?
Yeah.
So
Well, it's like you and I talked about, like regulation is a good thing to an extent because of what
Sure.
we are just, talking about, the
Yeah.
dangers of not having regulation.
Yep.
But there's a point where you and I are the regulators, and I think that
Exactly.
this market's done a good job of that.
So far,
But
it
there's
could be messed
also
up real quick.
absolutely,
But this is like just why can't we have a nightlife? Why isn't that acceptable?
but alcohol and bar is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're manufacturing in the same location as
Exactly.
well. Like so they're
Exactly.
going to manufacture to retail as well as letting you hang out.
100%.
And
And it's a much more dangerous drug.
oh sure, absolutely. We won't even throw that in there, but this is cool. This is the guy I was telling you he's coming by tomorrow. Big 7.
Okay. Damn, he's tall, ain't he?
Yeah, so that's the drinks that we get that we make over there. It's a frozen drink. Yeah, that guy's tall. He's coming to hang out tomorrow.
Good Lord, what is he? 7 foot tall?
7'4".
Dang.
Yeah.
What a life.
Go to his Instagram.
It's my brother. My little brother's 6'5", and I can't even imagine someone a foot taller than him.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Look at this. This is people like reacting. That was with him in Greenville here, but there's the Speedway. This one on TikTok got like 26.5
Really?
million views. Look, look at that guy. That's the one that made him go viral.
Yeah. I wonder how that. I mean, dang, you gotta put his head down and walk through the sheets.
They stop him everywhere
door.
he goes.
Everybody's got a comment on it.
He can't go nowhere without being stopped.
Now you've spoken with him, so does he?
Yeah,
does,
so we
does
got
that
another
affect him?
video. We hadn't done like a sit down yet.
But I got a video of y'all smoking together.
Yeah.
Because I wonder like how that would feel. Of course, you get used to it, I'm sure, but I would be aggravated if every time I walked in somewhere, people were like,
There he is.
yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I think he's capitalizing on that
"Oh
'cause
yeah,
he's a rapper,
definitely.
right?
And should, right?
If he was, I haven't got into his music yet at all
Yeah.
because I've just met this guy Thursday.
Okay.
So I've not even looked at it to know what kind of artist he is really. But I do know that it was. Oh, you're on his. Yeah.
His music. If you want to listen to it.
And so everybody was calling him Snoop, right?
Yeah. He does have a Snoop look.
And so him and Snoop got in conversation
Oh, that's cool.
because of everybody was tagging
Yeah,
Snoop. So that's his boy Izzy. And they come in the shop and they want to put a show in the shop.
Okay. Now, are they in Greenville?
Kinston, they're from Kinston.
Okay.
But it's just weird because like these people are looking to spend time in our shop.
Yeah, get involved. They're into it.
Exactly, and we could provide that for the community. Like if he wants to do an album release party,
Yeah.
by all means, let's go.
And what happens if we legalize medical or we legalize recreational? All that goes out the door.
But I kind of got a plan for that too, because so right there, go to that one real quick.
Which one?
Just go to that picture.
This?
No, that one to the right there. No, right there. All right. Oh, that's not a picture. It's a video. So you'll see. I don't know. I was just trying to get the. Is that a picture? All right. So right here is another garage door,
Okay.
and so my thoughts is, you close and lock that.
Yeah.
Then you have to leave the building, and there'll be a separate business next door
Got you.
That
For
you
just
can-
chilling.
that you can still see. So
Yeah.
if we have to go that route, but
Yeah.
again, we're still talking about hitting a 1%
Yeah. And it's also
market. My business 1%.
and it's also just
Survive off
going
of
back
that.
to focusing on what they are focused on in the medical. You know.
If I take 99% of your retail clients,
Yeah.
are you going to survive?
Yeah.
You
Be
know?
all right. But it goes back to, are they going to bring in these huge companies that are going to pay for us to go away?
Yeah.
We hope not, right? We want to make sure that doesn't happen. Even if I got a medical license, I still wouldn't want that for the hemp industry.
I don't know how my business would survive if I
Yeah.
got a medical license.
Yeah.
or at the actual qualifying amounts.
Yeah.
If you're not in the biggest metropolitan area,
Yep.
that way you get the most
Most
influx
people.
of people.
Yeah.
You're not gonna survive.
Which, and then, you know,
Which they
a
try
lot
to
of
do that
that's-
at rural, right?
Yeah.
But still, like,
Well,
how
and
are you gonna run
it
a
doesn't even have to be rural. That's the thing. It has to be low income. So it still can be that metropolitan,
Sure.
just focused in a low
Well,
income area.
Greenville's a tier 2.
Okay.
So, but Johnston County's not. So
Yeah,
my
yeah.
Smithfield store is not tier 2.
But you can set up your manufacturing and everything, and then your locations can be different, potentially, right? This is all potential.
Why do they have to even have control of that?
I think
Why not just build a healthy market based on
what I look at, potentially, again, because they haven't, there's no framework around any of this that gives us all these answers, right? I've asked the questions to the politicians, like, what are you thinking here? But their answer is they're just trying to get it through the door, through the finish line.
For who?
Exactly.
Because we're already doing it.
Exactly.
What are you limited to in retail now?
And that's where I'm at this point. Now that we've got THCA, now that we've got, you know, D9 or compliant edibles, I don't see any reason other than people don't know, right? Like, that's my biggest thing is, like,
we're just not calling ourselves a dispensary.
Exactly. And more people find out every day.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure you have more people coming in your store every single day that are like, holy shit,
Yeah.
this is out here. But they're also going to the tobacco store, and that's where they try it for the first time, and who knows what happens. Do they get sick? Is it laced? Is it sprayed THCA versus naturally grown THCA?
Yeah.
Because those are differences.
Well, and those guys are always chasing a price point.
Yeah, a dollar sign. And that's what, with distribution coming from my end.
I just told you, I'll spend the most on flour.
Yeah, for sure. Because the quality is super important.
I'm not going to beat you up. I need it at half of that.
Yeah. And from a grower's perspective, you know, I have always focused on I'd rather, and this is the opposite of a lot of folks, right? Like, I'd rather sell more at less to make that profit margin.
We were set up to be like that from 4 years ago, from this ground floor store in a town of 1,200, which is not how you survive.
Absolutely.
We have a lot of money making sure we can hold our price point across the board.
And that's where I want my wholesale consumers to be.
But in retail, you can't just produce more and sell more.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
It's like,
so you've got to have a certain price point where it needs to be. But then once the prices drop, right? Because CBD was expensive originally.
Yeah.
And then there was just a plethora of it.
Yeah.
So, but you saw the tinctures stay the same price with the same amount of milligrammage.
Yeah.
That always frustrated me. In any product, gummies, whatever, because
but not everybody's manufacturing, so the manufacturers don't even.
They don't see the dollar signs increase.
Not everybody manufactures equally, right? So the increase happens, and they don't ever tell.
Yeah, the customer.
Well, the retailer.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Is like the wholesale customer.
And then the retailer, damn sure ain't passing nothing that in their mind don't exist
to the actual consumer.
I buy a lot of products, and I don't manufacture all my products. I buy a lot, and none of them ever tell me that, hey,
prices
we're going to go down on you.
I've had people who said they haven't slept 8 hours in 40 years.
Yeah,
who have come in and now they're they're sleeping like
I've got people coming off of Ambien and
Ambien's crazy too.
Klonopins and all kinds of antidepressants
and then you go to that
mood stabilizers, and
you go to who is, you know, they don't want it legalized for that purpose, right? Like they don't want us to take people away, customers away from them. So are they going to be jumping into this?
You know what I just thought about? Honestly, the insurance companies should be our biggest fans.
Yeah.
Because this isn't covered by insurance,
Yep.
at least as of now, and then they wouldn't have to go pay.
Cover. But what are they getting? Because
you're still gonna pay for your insurance to go get medical care.
True.
Doctors and
But every time you go to get a prescription, right, and they cover that,
Some things, Western medications,
federal payouts and
you
things.
need.
Yeah,
Diabetes,
100%.
like we can only
100%.
help with cannabis, but
Absolutely.
you're not
Antibiotics.
You're not going to save a life. Antibiotics.
Yeah.
There's just things that are life rendering that
Yeah.
you absolutely need.
Well, and I'll even go to the extent of, which I think there's another herbal solution to this, but going to the extent of mental health, right? THC, CBD, CBG, all these they can't always fix mental health issues because
No, but
some
they
mental
can-
health issues
they
are
can really help.
Absolutely.
That you add that and talk therapy.
yeah, and it's particular to what type of mental health issue.
Sure,
That's
but
what I'm saying.
There
like,
is an erase for all of
Yeah,
it
yeah.
in the fungi, but
yeah, and that's where I was going, right?
yeah. So, and you know what? That may make a federal pass before cannabis does.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
'Cause
they're
look at
already
the
sending out
research
ketamine.
going.
Yeah, they're already sending ketamine out to people's homes to do therapy.
Which
So,
is that can be done wrong.
yeah, 100%.
You can end up lights out forever.
Absolutely
With ketamine trip.
Absolutely. And I wonder at what point we'll see DMT and ayahuasca get introduced because,
Safe.
yeah, exactly,
Safe.
100%. If it's clean.
Yeah.
Because DMT is one of those
Sure.
that, you know,
synthesized.
Yeah,
but,
exactly.
But what if you're getting it from the
a lab.
mimosa,
Yeah,
the mimosa plant,
Yeah,
or
sure.
from a direct source?
ayahuasca, yeah. I think it's interesting to see where our culture's shifting.
You can microdose ayahuasca now legally in the United States.
No shit.
Yeah, look that up.
I didn't know that.
Ayahuasca microdosing.
So how do you
It's
access
like
that?
a tincture. I
Oh,
don't know.
really?
I haven't looked into it really. It just hit me.
I was looking into what that lady told us the other week with like all the big pharmaceutical like GW and like Pfizer are making huge acquisitions into like people who are already doing medical cannabis stuff. So it's already happening.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, they're legalizing it in other states. It's the same slow roll that we saw with cannabis and are seeing with cannabis. But I think you may be right. It might surpass it because they've got
John Hopkins.
Yeah,
and,
behind them.
There's a lot of studies going
Yeah.
out. And I know a lot of professionals myself involved
Yeah, for
in,
sure.
in it. And
And you know, if you pay attention to the news, you never see drug bust on that.
oh, no, you just, but it's because it's so damn hard to get your hands
Yeah.
on. I mean, that's something that people ask for a lot
Yeah.
because the sources aren't out there.
Well, and even outside of the psychedelic aspect of it,
All of these are a couple years old. I don't know. What do you want me to find?
I just have found a couple of products claiming to be ayahuasca microdose, and that was legal now. But I haven't even looked into like how that works.
yeah, or where it's going.
Psilocybin, I understand how that works.
That mind blowing. That's the ketamine, right?
Is that what that is?
I think it is. But they're probably just using the same thing as I know the ketamines come with like the eye cover and the earphones.
Well, that's
and
how
going
you
through
should
it.
do some
Some therapy.
some
and
therapy.
Some really looking into yourself.
Yeah.
Best thing would be getting one of those like salt tanks.
Yeah,
That'd be the way to really do
Float,
it. Yeah.
like
trip.
weightless. Yeah.
But even outside of, you know, what's that one company? I know there's Mushroom Life. I really like him. He's a guy out of California, and he does gummies, and we work together on that aspect of things. And then he does some like tablets and shit like that, and it's functioning mushrooms.
Yeah.
And then he also is doing the amanitas.
Okay.
The amanitas are interesting to
I'm
me.
starting to look into those myself.
Yeah. They're interesting
It's
because
supposed to be a dream.
yeah, and you can't grow it. It has to be naturally harvested from Europe. So
Is the law the loophole?
no,
there?
it's just
What do you?
it just isn't like something that can be reproduced at the time.
Huh.
So
Interesting.
which ends up with bad players in the game, right?
Yeah.
Getting something else and
Yeah.
selling it as Amanita.
That's what scares me because I see them in a lot of smoke shops.
Yeah.
The gummies
Yeah.
coming in, and
There's a couple big companies that I know are doing it, quote unquote, right, but still their milligram levels are off.
Was it extraction?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of times it's just like a powdered mushroom, but you're not getting as much out of it. And where it's hard to access, you see a lot of shortages. Like there's one company that used to be really big in hemp has changed their name and shifted to the Amanitas. And
That just goes to show you, right? This is the CBD.
yeah, absolutely.
This
Of
is
that.
This is CBD all over again.
But people are Life Cycle. That was the other brand. You know, Joe Rogan spoke of them. They do the tinctures. He's all over my Instagram feed and Facebook and all that because he's doing the lion's mane, the cordyceps, I don't even just all of them. He's got like 6
Simon's
different
in our
ones.
retail location.
Okay.
Yeah.
I used to grow
Host
lion's mane
Defense.
and eat it. Like it tastes like crab when you cook it,
Yeah.
or lobster.
Yeah.
Kinda. The texture's a little bit. But I mean, I just think there's a ton out there. I mean, look at daffodils, right? Like they found daffodils like the best thing that you can have for your heart. So
Dandelions.
dandelions,
right?
yeah.
Dandelions.
So it's this weird cultural shift that I think I'm 31 since I was a kid to now, just watching it change and watching the opioid epidemic really kind of set it off because people realized how traumatic some of this stuff could be, and how many lives and families it could ruin. So everybody's looking for an alternative, along with the internet just blasting out that we can't trust the government.
Sure.
So now
Including
everybody's
the number
like,
one song right now on iTunes.
yeah, exactly. That, and then you've got, you know, these documentaries or series like the Painkiller on Netflix.
Mm-hmm.
I watched that and I was like, it's
I
just
ain't
great.
seen that yet.
It's Oxycontin. But then they still have oxycodone, you know.
Yeah,
So what did they really do?
yeah.
I've watched friends who start out with 5 milligram oxycodone because they have extreme back issues,
Yeah.
and then get moved to 20 milligrams in 3 years,
And then
and
get cut
they're
off.
not inside anymore. You know what I mean? And then if they do get cut off, then they have to go to Suboxone or methadone or something like that. Whereas you and I spoke about, kratom potentially could be a natural, you know, harvested from the jungle plant that relieve people from that. But again,
See,
regulations.
but I just hadn't seen anything kratom can do that cannabis can't touch on.
The only thing that I would say is hit the opiate receptor.
Sure, but
Because
why we need to hit it? Like,
I think for people
why don't we
who,
manage our pain in another way?
I
Now,
agree.
I will say a toothache,
yeah.
a back pain, it does a lot
Yeah.
better hitting that opiate. But
Well, and
a
I'm just
toothache,
thinking about the addict, right? Like not even thinking
Sure,
about the
on
just
the back end of that, but for treatment on the front end, you can't convince me at this point that cannabis, especially like, dude, you eat 100 milligram brownie, not that you should go be that ruthless, but you eat 100 milligram brownie, your back's not going to hurt anymore.
Yeah, 100%. And I'm with that, and that's where I think, like we were speaking about, is like kratom on the back end
Back
to
end of
deal
stuff.
with some of this addiction issues
Yeah.
would be the route, which THC can do that as well if the person's motivated enough,
Again,
right?
I've seen people go sick from withdrawals.
Yeah,
Take that same 100 milligram brownie I'm talking
Comfortable.
about, and they're no longer drawed up. They're
Yeah.
no longer They might, but they feel like they got a really bad and it's not. It's everything's so variable, right?
Yeah.
But I know I have heard people tell me that edibles in high doses that we
Yeah.
don't usually suggest for people
absolutely.
can get you through those first critical
7 days or so.
critical
Yeah.
3 to 7.
And it
10
is
days.
on each individual.
Sure, and
my
you got to have
sis-
that willpower.
Yeah, my sister passed 2 months ago from heroin,
I
and
hear that.
she never took that opportunity to,
Sure.
you know, I wish she would have went to the store and got some kratom and tried it
Yeah,
out.
yeah.
But again, it's the variables are all
metals
over.
Are better than the alternative
Yeah,
there,
because that's
right?
got whatever in it as
Yeah.
well. And then when it even gets to the heavy metals thing, like again, I think if there was regulation on it being grown, where it's coming from, and things like that, you could see a benefit to it. But on the front end of things, I'm with you. Cannabis is cannabis can do pretty much whatever you need to do on that end, especially with pain.
Pain management side, yeah.
Because when you're hurting, that in correlation with the anti-inflammatory aspects of CBD, it's insane what it can do. And then the sleep aspect, I think I feel like 90% of Americans struggle with sleep.
Even if they don't realize it.
Yeah.
They just,
Yeah. And this
Quality
is something that I have seen has helped countless amounts of people.
And then you do that for 3 or 4 days in a row.
Yeah.
And you start feeling better naturally.
Absolutely.
Right. That's part of
sleep
my
is
problem.
critical.
I'm sleep deprived because I got cluster headaches, and cannabis doesn't touch that.
Yeah.
But see, neither do opiates.
Yeah.
But it does help me sleep when I finally get rid of it.
Yeah. When the pain's finally out.
Now I can, instead of just like, because see, these things are so traumatizing that I'll just replay like, oh my God, that just happened.
That's wild.
That just happened.
So what is that like? Do you lose sight, or is it just extreme pressure
You can
pain?
actually see it on our YouTube channel.
Oh, really?
Yeah, pull up an example. This is on a scale of 1 to 10. I'd say this probably got to like a 7 that day.
Oh, okay.
But this is where the mushrooms come in for me.
Yeah.
Because macro dosing.
Okay. Like a gram.
No, macro like
Like 0.25 or
3.5.
Okay.
4 grams.
A big hit.
Will prevent this for weeks at a time.
Yeah.
So
How often do you experience this?
sometimes 2 and 3 times a day.
On a normal basis?
Yeah.
Is that like once or twice per week without the mushrooms?
Sit down, I'll get
Like
it for
every
you.
day.
Fuck.
Yeah.
How long does that happen?
How long has it
Yeah.
been happening? They ramped up when I was like 20.
Jeez Louise.
Really, really got intense when I was 20.
How long did it take you to figure out mushrooms would prevent it from happening?
Until I was ready to end my life, and I was just desperate.
Yeah.
Because I'd always been scared of mushrooms.
Yeah. I was too.
And because I had some mental shit going on, which we speculate correlates with these
Yeah,
headaches anyway. But I was ready just not to be here anymore. I was like, what if I lose my mind?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
That sounds a little better than the alternative. So I just
Gave it a
kind
shot.
of ate a handful of them.
Yeah.
And didn't have a headache for 3 months.
Oh shit. So do you do it once a month or?
It's still, that's for me. It's still me and mushrooms don't really get along that well. It's I don't give into them like I should.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
can talk you into giving into them.
Oh yeah, I let go like a motherfucker.
I could even if you couldn't, I could help you get there.
Yeah.
But I can't get myself there.
Which is wild because you
easily.
use THC. See, that's why I do low doses of THC during the day.
Sure.
Because in social interactions,
He's like,
I have a harder time
Yeah.
letting go with THC
Yeah.
versus, and my fiance same way.
yeah,
We're trying to tell her sisters, we were at the beach this summer and we're like, try this.
Yeah.
And then they're like, no, I'm going to eat edible. I'm like, y'all don't do well with edibles. I'm telling you, try this.
yeah,
Because for she and I, which it's not everyone's case, there's less things. I can go out and chill with people. I'll be laughing and acting stupid, but
Yeah.
I can be around people
I feel like
and
I'm about
not
to die.
be so worried.
anything over a gram, I'm like,
Yeah. Well, I like the over a gram or the gram to 2 gram range. But like
I
I
just
said,
be
my
like-
0.25 on a daily, 5 days a week,
oh, that don't bother me.
that's where it's at.
Yeah, that don't bother
Yeah.
me. That's what everybody in the existence of the planet should be
Yeah.
doing.
And I keep telling people.
That's for everybody. Now you do have to keep yourself in check.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
you can start doing too much work.
Absolutely. And
Like-
you got to also, step off and let it rebuild because
Oh,
your
yeah.
tolerance builds up and the
Yeah.
effects go away.
Yep.
But I tell people, I'm like, have you ever thought about microdosing mushrooms? They're like, yeah, I do that. I do a gram a day or gram at a time. And I'm like, that is not microdosing. Like, you should not feel it
Yeah.
if you're really microdosing.
Yeah.
You should feel the boost from it and
Yeah.
the clarity and the mood support.
Yeah.
But
yeah. a little smarter.
Yeah, exactly. A little bit more in tuned with the
So
line.
without microdosing, I'll just like
Yeah.
literally quite often, you'll catch me talking to where I just
Wow.
and just because of the headaches.
Yeah, yeah.
Now, if I've had 2 nights or more headache free, I'm like a whole different person.
Really.
1, I feel better about life.
Yeah.
2, I'm smarter.
Yeah. Well, you're more in tune. You're able to be
I'm here.
present.
I'm
Yeah.
here, and so
Yeah.
like Warren could see a huge difference when I'm in a headache, and I'm like, and he'll be asking me something, and now he's learned when I'm gonna get him.
Yeah. What's
Well,
the
you
signs
think
of
that's
it coming up?
Fair to say, just by me trying to talk,
Yeah.
because it's like I'll start struggling talking.
Yeah. And anytime they start to come back, even though you struggle with them, you start to hit the mushrooms again, or are you using microdose to manage it?
So, trip maintenance with microdosing.
Got you.
But
And that puts it
unfortunately,
off for-
trip is not something you can just do very
Yeah,
often.
yeah.
Like
Especially when you have a family and
businesses,
Yeah,
and
100%.
you're not really comfortable with the whole process.
Especially if it's an
like, yeah,
It's a eight's a lot.
That's what it takes.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's a whole day.
Yeah.
For 1, 2, you need a babysitter.
Absolutely.
You know, so and that it's just like a lot.
Yeah,
And then 3,
yeah.
you got to be like saddle up.
Yeah. It'd be good if you could go into a therapeutic area for a day every 2 months or whatever it takes. And be able
I can create that. I have a farm.
yeah,
You know,
be able to go through that, but it is still the good thing about
One,
it is how you
illegal.
feel after. Yeah, yeah, exactly.
but yeah, no, the after effects are great.
yeah,
Right.
that's
Even
good.
if I'm like,
yeah, once you
Then,
get through, you're like, thank God I
dude,
don't
on
have headaches.
that
constantly.
that come down
Yeah,
is worth
Everything's brighter.
everything. Yeah, it's just like you can feel the shit dripping off of
Yeah.
you. The traumas are just like pouring off of like that. If I could just think of that
Yeah.
as I was coming into it,
yeah,
I'd probably be okay, because
Yeah.
that feels amazing.
Yeah.
Where you're just like,
well, and
it's like the first breath of life or something. It's
that's
just-
why I didn't want to do LSD. That was the first psychedelic I ever did.
Yeah.
Other than cannabis. And I was so afraid of that. I was so afraid of it freaking me out and or getting trapped forever.
Yeah.
Which were, I think, to the extent myths. You
Yeah,
know?
yeah.
I mean, I think you could probably eat enough LSD to where you
You
don't.
can
but,
be a little weird,
Yeah,
but yeah.
but after it hit my tongue and I was still alive, I was like, okay, I'm cool. And it was great, but like LSD for me, and I know they use it medicinally, and have in the past, but that's way too much for too long.
And then it keeps coming back, right? You
yeah.
think it's over.
Yep.
I've not
a
had
cycle.
that experience, but you're like, okay, back to real.
Yeah.
See, that's the thing. It could be quite dangerous too, right?
Oh, yeah.
So think about if you were to have like a ceremony of sorts for healing purposes, and then you're like, okay, this is done, and get halfway
I'm going to go home or whatever.
Yeah, where mushrooms, when they're done,
Yeah.
they're done.
Well, in 6 hours too versus 12.
That's another factor.
And then just the intensity level of it. But it's harder with mushrooms to gauge what you're doing if it's all scientifically correct.
Correct,
Because
right.
you're looking at mushrooms and they're just like a weight that you're
Yeah.
taking versus LSD could be more of a
You know what I like the
scientific
thought
centralized thing.
process though is I could see the mushrooms.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'd be like, no, that looks like 15
Yeah,
grams.
yeah.
That,
like that
that
weighs nothing,
LSD,
though.
that LSD, you're not gonna know really.
No, you just got that little square.
you just hope they did their math right.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So that's always scared me too. Is just
And
like,
that it's just all back to that. And that's the thing is like
especially
relying,
since there's a lot done on the street.
yeah,
know?
in bathtubs.
Yeah,
Relying on the government is not clearly based off what's happened in our past.
yeah,
Is not necessarily the way to go.
yeah.
But then relying on the drug dealer is not the way to go either.
Correct.
So there's a very fine line there.
But there's
just like
people out there
is with
getting it
cannabis.
right.
Oh yeah, 100%. There's people out there who do it for the good. That's what their whole thing is. I mean,
I could name easy 10 just in my circle including some of the people we've talked about today, is
Yeah.
stuff that would be deserving of a cannabis license.
Absolutely.
One of them might get it.
Yeah. And that's the thing.
And that person, whether it be you, me, or anybody else, doesn't really want it.
Yeah.
In most cases, unless from the manufacturing standpoint, it would be attractive if you could.
It's attractive no matter, but when you have a 50 million burn rate
Yeah.
over 5 years,
Yeah.
you're like, why?
Yeah.
Why? With our current situation,
Yeah.
we're already set up to do what we need to do if we're responsible, if we're doing our homework, if we're
Yeah.
making sure that the manufacturers and the growers are doing what they're supposed to be doing. We're already there. We just have to educate the public.
But then you go, boom,
Yeah.
and so the market goes and explodes with the medical. In theory, this is what they think, right?
Yeah.
And so then they think that all of a sudden these grows or these manufacturing places will be in good shape. But the reality of it is you're going boom
Yep.
to something that's so restrictive,
That you're not even going to be able to make money.
you're not going to be
At
able
least
to,
for a long
so
time.
now, if your play is like these other states, is to let's go medical to get to recreation.
Yeah.
Now, unfortunately, you created a situation where if that's a 3-year process,
You've robbed a lot of people of an opportunity that
yeah,
they had
because
present.
I'm out. I'm not going to survive 3 years
Yeah.
on my own account. What's got to happen? Oh, Mr. Pfizer,
Yeah.
yeah, I'll take your money.
Yeah.
And then my shop won't look like this anymore
Exactly.
as well. You know what I mean? Like you're killing the cannabis culture before it even gets started good.
And they will want to make the argument of, well, it's not a culture, right? It's a medicine. Well,
Both.
yeah, but exactly.
can't it be
it's
both?
both. 100%.
Because
That's how you win people over.
that's it. And honestly, the medicine doesn't work without the culture.
Yeah.
If you don't believe in what it's doing for you, if you don't have the support of
If
the
you're not
people,
able to let go.
dude, this guy right here struggled like hell with weed several times in his, and we finally broke it down. I was like, think about it like you think about mushrooms. Go into it with intent, right?
And an open self and mind to it.
And if you don't, or if you're not in the right setting, if you don't create that right setting,
Yeah.
it's going to be a negative experience.
Yep.
So without the culture, I promise you, what time is it?
I don't know.
1 o'clock. You don't ever smoke this much weed. You don't smoke weed during the day. I
Yeah.
promise you, I can get you high as balls right now. You still be as excited.
Yeah.
Fine, because
Absolutely.
I know I've smoked with enough people. I'll watch where you go and I'll redirect.
Yeah.
And so, call me a shaman in that aspect. I just think of it as a guy that smoked enough weed with enough people
Yeah.
that he could tell you, like, I can let you go to a weird place and
Yeah.
then watch what happens.
Well, and I think that's
But
the
I can
thing.
also pull you back.
That's the thing with my personal experience with it is like, no one would be able to tell everything's fine.
Sure,
You know,
but internally,
but
you're
internally,
freaking
more just like, what did I just say? And it's that OCD.
out. But I'm gonna
aspect.
call you on it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna see it, and I'm gonna call you on
Yeah,
it,
and
I'm
clear
gonna, Yep, and we're gonna put it on the table to where it's uncomfortable as hell for 2 minutes,
Yeah.
and then all of a sudden, it's gonna be good again.
Yeah.
It took some time. We had to wait and figure it out. We get in the truck every time he's freaking out, not feeling good, feeling like a bad mushroom trip,
Yeah, yeah.
right? It's like, and then we figured out like it's the intention, it's the setting. 'Cause I was just going, here, smoke this.
Yeah. Well, and that's with my.
And it was no intention. Now it's like we get creative,
Yeah.
and then like, all right, hit this,
Yeah.
and now he's been
Blasting.
good. And it took realizing that he was getting in that place. I feel like without the culture, without that support, if he was smoking at the house every day to try to
combat or
whatever,
create or whatever. Yeah.
but was having that problem, he would have gave up on the cannabis.
Oh yeah.
And gone to the opiates.
Yeah.
Or gone to
Yeah.
benzos.
A, B,
or
C, D, F.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Alcohol, whatever.
Absolutely.
So
Also, which is why like talk therapy is good.
exactly.
A lot of that was the spot I was in
Yeah.
at that time, and then after I worked that part out of my life, like
Boom.
it felt like I wasn't even ingesting the same drug.
Yeah.
Or not drug,
Well, and I feel the same, and it is, but I feel the same way with smoking with my fiance or my best friend versus someone that I never met that come into a shop,
Yeah.
right? Like that comfortability, that ability to talk freely, to feel comfortable, versus even smoking with you versus smoking on cameras,
Yeah.
right? Like it's that, and that can be done no matter where you're at, who you are, what you're
Sure.
doing. It's all that, it's a mental thing, just like with mushrooms and just letting go.
I'm really good at letting go with cannabis, where you were saying you're not.
Yeah.
And I suck at letting go with mushrooms.
But I still use cannabis, like I said.
And I still use mushrooms.
Exactly, because it still has its place.
Yeah.
And everyone is different. I mean, I've had customers who come into retail and they're like, I don't want to get high. And I'm like, okay, well, let's try CBD for your sleep, right? Because that's probably, that and pain are the two main things I see. They try CBD, it might not work. If it doesn't work, then I say you really need to try this THC along with CBD or whatever other, blend.
But let's be smart
But
about it.
let's be smart about it. And my thing to them is take it before you take it, lay down, and you'll never even notice.
That's build a little bit of a tolerance.
You'll drift into sleep and you'll not even notice that you got high.
Yeah. And as long as you're taking a small amount.
Don't eat 100 milligram gummy
right.
because you'll feel it for 3 days.
My wife would take a gummy and just be like, boom, and I was like, that's not the way to do it. We need to, because she doesn't partake, right?
Yeah.
So now she'll take a small portion of a gummy. Well, she would at time and build her tolerance while she slept.
Yeah.
So you do that for a week or two with a quarter of a gummy.
Exactly.
If you're forced to do the edible, right? If you're not just, tincture's always smarter because
Absolutely.
lesser effects and
smoking.
Smoking would be the best option.
It's instant, but it's the weakest.
Not everybody will
like the smell, the taste.
Yeah.
A lot of my clients and customers are that way.
Yeah.
Which I understand.
I get it. And but if you can't control like this, I can say, because you do feel it instantly.
Yeah.
Maybe not the full effects instantly, but you put. Oh, okay.
Here it is. Yeah.
Let's put this down.
Exactly.
And you know when to put it down. Where that gummy, you can't put that.
No,
you can't put that.
It can hit you in 2 hours.
Yeah, and then you're like, you know what? This thing didn't work at all, so I'm gonna go to the grocery store real quick.
Yeah.
Change that setting. You know what's gonna happen.
But the crazy thing is, for me personally, with edibles, like 40 milligram D8s is what I used to do. Now I do a 10 milligram D9, 15 milligram CBD that I make. But prior to, I'll do the 40 milligrams, walking around wet and wild, Emerald Point, and forgot I had taken an edible. And I'm walking with my friends, and I'm like, all of a sudden, it's just like, whew, and I felt it. And in that, I was great. Yeah. And I can do that with edibles for whatever reason. I guess it's the sneaking up on me thing. I'm not even thinking about it, and then I'm high, and I'm good.
Yeah.
Versus smoking.
Well, it's more body, right?
Yeah.
It's more body, so you can still get there, but for smokers anyway, it's more body.
Now I do dabs, that's the weird thing about me. It's like I don't really smoke flower as much. It's more dabs, and then I get spinning in a good way, like creativity wise.
Yeah.
And I can't write emails.
That's why I try to stay.
Yeah. I can't write emails if I'm high because they'll end up being 3 pages long.
That's where I try to stay, but I'm like careful with my tolerance and switch everything a lot. So.
Yeah.
But I try to stay in that head zingy space. But yeah, Drew, I think we covered a lot today. I don't know what we'll get out of it, honestly.
Yeah.
He'll go
I hope
through
some good stuff.
I think there's some stuff in there for sure. Definitely some stuff that needs to be talked about from like the political side that we hinted around.
Well, and I can just wrap that up a little bit more from my understanding because I've read the bills a lot.
Yeah.
And from my perspective, we've recognized the issue with it happening at all, right?
Yeah.
Like the burn rate, what it takes to get into it. The big players are going to have to be a part of it.
Yeah.
All these things, but once we get into it, there's no framework on how to operate it. So you've got this board that's going to be put in charge, and that's going to be made of God knows who.
Yeah, that's
with
what
what
scares
knowledge
me.
base, with what regulatory.
What they should do is send a board to businesses like yours and mine,
Yeah, exactly.
and just
Or make us the board.
or make us the board, but then there's a conflict of interest there, right?
But there could
Because
be a
then
situation where
we're making decisions on our money
True.
as well, and so
But we're doing that already,
sure,
and we're regulating it
I get
correctly
it.
already.
That would be my ideal world.
Yeah. And not even the whole board, just like you,
2-3
and
members,
you, and then
yeah.
a medical, and then me, and then a sheriff,
Yeah,
whatever the
yeah,
hell they
yeah,
want to
yeah,
do.
yeah.
But that way that there's some conversation that,
The board scares me.
yeah, me too.
You know
but
what?
it's also the only thing that makes it possible because they get to add different elements that, are
Sure, but
credited.
you also know what the mandatory qualification for the doctor to be able to prescribe is? That they take a marijuana course.
Yeah.
You know what that marijuana course is about? Substance abuse.
Which is ridiculous. Because when I looked at the course, I didn't know that. When I looked at the course, I was like, I'm educated. I can write a course.
That's what that's what my wife is specializes in, right? Is drug and alcohol abuse on the therapy side, and that's not who needs to be making the decision.
Exactly.
Like, and why not your bona fide physician or any physician that you're bona fide
you're letting any physician prescribe oxycodone.
But yet you have to be qualified on substance abuse.
Yeah. And how many are not already qualified on substance abuse? And why are they not?
Yeah.
Because we're clearly dealing with it.
Yeah, because the pharmaceuticals are okay.
Yeah,
right?
it's all right to be
Everybody's
addicted to
paid on that.
Exactly. Virginia's a mess.
They're screwing it up all the way around.
Horrible. So you had a super left-wing liberal governor pass marijuana law. It was progressing in the correct direction, but without direction at the same time, lacking framework. You can grow your 4 plants or whatever in your house. You can have an ounce. But there's no sales. There's nothing. And then this Republican takes over, new governor, and just shuts the whole thing down. So the only access is still through hemp. But
I thought they quit that too.
They haven't quit. They're regulating it through the government. So I forget who it was, but the only thing that was looked at from what I was supplying, because I supply flour and all these things, were my edibles. The FDA, they had to be FDA compliant packaging, all these new things. Plus, they added to where you have to have 25% more CBD than THC in any edible. So, but they left THCA alone. So flour, you can get whatever you need, concentrates, vapes, but their edibles are being regulated very heavily, which is not necessarily a bad thing. 25% more CBD is
but that changes
the whole dynamic of everything.
Yeah, because that's really good for me in a lot of situations, but really bad for me in a lot of situations. Depending on
every person's different, every situation's different. Some people need high dose of THC with very little or no CBD. Some people do need 25% more CBD with their THC. So Virginia, as of right now, is at a standstill. Marijuana might as well not be legal.
Unless you have a medical license and live within the three that exist.
And they will only give you a 10 milligram gummy with 10 milligram CBD. So
it's a 1-to-1.
It's a 1-to-1, which is a good product.
Yeah, great product. It's got a place. That's one of my biggest sellers, but
it's got a place, but not everybody needs that. Some people need the 100 milligram brownie because their pain's at that point, and that's the only thing that's going to help.
Or they're detoxing from heroin.
Exactly. So Virginia's kind of a mess.
That's what we're going to follow suit. Is my fear, is do those same moves and
happen here.
Yeah, but Florida's a good example of the way things are being done right.
Yeah,
and maybe you should consider that in North Carolina.
It does take the people though, because I was placed into a WhatsApp group and then a Telegram group with, every top executive of every top company in the country through
Yeah.
hemp, and people giving 50,000, 10,000. I mean, it took a lot. I was watching it and playing a part to some extent,
Yeah.
but not massively. I was watching Florida from the back, the back end from
Yeah.
these hemp companies save the hemp program. And it's the only reason it happened. Because you had every big player in the country working on it with these people who are in Florida. Because I just left Fort Lauderdale, the Alternative Hemp Expo,
Yeah.
when they put that change in. And then it was pretty crazy. It was over 1,000 subscribers to the Telegram. So a lot of people, a lot of CEOs of companies and shit that were, I mean, I'm glad that they were helping Florida, because Florida's so massive, it would have hurt their businesses. So they definitely had an interest in doing that, but it was good to see everybody come together to save it.
Well, hopefully that's what will happen here if we go that
Well, I've
route.
got that Telegram and that WhatsApp still, so we can launch into it if we need to.
I've got the
to gain
clients,
support.
the customers to
Yeah.
bring by the dozens.
Yeah.
Well, man, I appreciate you coming
Hey,
out.
thanks for having me down. I hate
was-
that it was delayed, but I'm glad that we
still got to get it
got
done.
to do it.
I still want to have you to the Greenville shop one time.
Absolutely.
I want to come see what you got.